Hello everybody, I'm Garchomp, welcome back to another video, welcome back to another tier list. On the first three gens, we're on Gen 4 Sinnoh now. We're ranking each an individual fully evolved Pokemon as well as some unevolved Pokemon based on their competitive viability in singles and doubles in the Pokemon from their generation and compared to the Pokemon outside of that generation. Right, let's begin. So, the starter wise, I would say that Gen 4 did okay. I think Empoleon and Torterra are both viable. Lower down on the viability list, I would say B tier is pretty solid because they are still pretty good. Competitive, can work into sticky web teams on the Empoleon, get the special attack buff, you have good coverage, you mixed. Torterra is a potential shell smash sweeper, not the best typing in the world, it's not completely awful, but quarter weak to ice is a little bit concerning, especially because Torterra is so slow. And they do somewhat rely on Terra, especially Torterra. But Infernape, I would say, is just above here. I would say it's the lower end of A or the higher end of B. I think you could make an argument for either or for Infernape. I'm going to put him in A tier because I think in terms of doing good damage, physical or special, getting in, getting out with U-turn, you have priority. You won't get options to moves like Will-O-Wisp, so you've got somewhat good utility as well. Typing is still okay. I think Infernape does a better job and is probably a lot easier to use in a regular battle and more often. Therefore, I think I would say that Infernape's better than the other two starters. Then we got Staraptor. I would also say Staraptor's a little bit better than Infernape personally. I think combination of Intimidate with support, moves like Tailwind, or going, this is why I put it up, going full out offense with Reckless, with Choice Scarf, Double Edge, Brave Bird, you can do so much damage, normal flying still an okay typing, it's not the end of the world. So for that reason I put Staraptor in A. Offensively, he's a big threat. Bibarel, C tier, he is a bit too niche, a bit too mid. Simple Curse is pretty good, you know, you can get bulky, but you get slower, so you have to work in Trick Room. Water Normal's an okay typing, it's not great, but it's not necessarily bad. But he's a little bit too niche, there's way better options, so I would put Bibarel in C on the lower end. Same goes with Kricketune, Sticky Webs, Pounce, Endeavor. Got a couple good moves, but the whole purpose of Sticky Webs, he does okay. He's not bulky, doesn't go any hide and see. Luxray is a solid B tier mon. Intimidate, Moxie, you have good options, but he does lack stat distribution wise to exceed in much things. Like, he's kind of good overall, he's got a good bulk, he's got decent offense. He's got okay speed, so to really excel in something, you kind of have to set up so he's more of a pure support mon. Has the potential to be offensive, but there's a lot of better options than Luxray, so I think B tier is fine. Next up is Roserade. Roserade is solid in its own right. Can set up hazards with Toxic Spikes, can do okay damage. Overall, it's just pretty solid, so I think that kind of makes sense for B tier. We've then got the fossils of this gen, Bastiodon and Rampados. Again, I think they're both B tier. There's going to be a lot of B tier mons in this particular region, similar to Gen 3. Rampados and Bastiodon are solid. Bastiodon's an incredibly well-used defensive mon. And to be honest, actually, now that I think about it, he was in OU for a long time. Steel Rock isn't the best typing in the world, but can if the opponent doesn't have the right typings for it. Metal Burst is solid, Stealth Rocks is good, Sturdy is just a good ability generally. Gyro Ball, potential, body press. You know what? I'd put Bastiodon up to A, but again on the lower end, sort of similar to Infernape. Rampados, however, is still B tier. He has one of the highest attacking stats for any non-legendary Pokemon. Sick design, cool concept, lacks in the speed department. Wormadam, top 5. Joking, I would love to put him higher up. He's not. I love Wormadam. He's not great though, unfortunately. I'll be completely honest, there is no reason. Yep. I'll be honest, there's no real reason to pick Wormadam. I would love to put the GOAT in S. However, all three of them don't necessarily exceed anything. Some have decent defensive stats, some excel in other stats. They get access to Quiver Dance. Coverage is okay, they get good stab. In comparison to every other bug type, right, in comparison to every other mon, they really do fall short. If they got a Mega, however, Mega Wormadam, I would easily go up to top 5, but unfortunately it doesn't. Mothim is then, it's arguably worse than Wormadam. It's just very mid, no real reason to pick it. Vespiquen is really the same. I would love to put Vespiquen higher again, but there isn't really much reason in my head that you would pick Vespiquen over these, other than the better stats, but you would never really pick it over Kricketune because of the utility that Kricketune has. Pachirisu, a world champion, that goes in B tier. Actually, still a solid support mon. Nuzzle, U-turn to get in and out there in singles, Helping Hand, Super Fang, Follow Me, actually, and even Electro Web. Very solid, and for that reason I think Pachirisu can deserve that B spot. Floatzel, to be honest, you make it a statement for D. Definitely make an argument for D. But from a physical water type, he does okay. He just doesn't have the best coverage in the world. He doesn't have the best abilities in the world. I kind of wish he got a secondary fighting type. Also, just a bit of something else because he's such a cool Pokemon design. But Cherubi and the Cherrim line, again, no real reason to pick this. Not the worst, but again, it's just one of those Pokemon. You literally have no real reason to pick it. Gastrodon's solid. Both of them are solid. I know they're no different really, but we'll put both of them in B. I don't think I could put them in A because there are better water types, and you compare it to Pokemon like Quagsire, and while Storm Drain is a better ability than Water Absorb, I do think that there's better options. Next up, Ambipom. Ambipom's B. Solid mon. Useful utility in doubles with Fake Out. Potential offensive damage in singles, like Last Resort Fake Out. U-turn for Pivoting. It's relatively good coverage, so for that reason I'll put him in B. Drifloon is A tier in my opinion. I think Drifloon is so good. Every time I've played against a Drifloon that has the same set of like Citrus Berry, with Unburden, with Strength Sap, with like Will-O-Wisp or Setup or something like that, it's so hard to kill. Ghost Fine's a pretty solid typing. Unburden's an amazing ability because of Drifloon's like mediocre speed stat, so it makes it so much better. And it has incredible moves, it has good coverage, and with Terra it's even better. So Drifloon is definitely A tier. Lopunny is probably again in the same boat as before with like B and A, because Mega Lopunny is so good at providing offensive pressure and even doubles, right? With Scrappy Fake Out, it's so annoying to play against because you can't have any Ghost type be immune to it, so Cobalt Cloak's literally the only option to avoid the Fake Out flinch, or even Inner Focus or something like that. But I do think the Scrappy and the offensive pressure that the Lopunny can provide does offer more utility than these other mons in B tier. Mismagius is B. It's decent. Special, especially bulky, especially offensive, quick speed, Levitate's an okay ability, but does lack significantly on the defensive side, like Flutter Mane, but a worse typing and worse stats, so I can't put it any higher than B. Perugly is a mid. Has more utility and more use cases to pick opposed to these D tier mons with thick fat and much better coverage, but it still doesn't go higher than C. Skunk Tank, I never get the name right. I'd also put in B. He doesn't have a great ability. Poison Touch I think is meh. But Poison Dark is an incredible typing. Only one weakness. You have an immunity. You're immune to Toxic and you can absorb Toxic Spikes. Surprisingly bulky. Great coverage. Priority. So you could even make a case higher up, to be honest, but he definitely is a solid B tier mon. I don't like Skunk Tank, but I can respect that he's good. Bronzong, I want to put higher up. Bronzong roughly in A tier, with the Gastrodon lineup as well. I think they're deserving of A tier, but like the lower end. Bronzong is very good, great in doubles, great in singles. Levitate and Heat Proof are both solid abilities, depending on your team that you're using and the opponent's team. Trick Room options, Gyro Ball Sweep, you can go Starred Power, Weakness Policy, Carmine. Plenty of sets to use with Bronzong, which make him, in my opinion, so good. And because he's naturally bulky, you can run it offensively and not have to worry as much, or you can just go full bulk and just stall things out. So for that reason, I think it goes in A tier. We've then got Chatot. Now, I think, you see, it's a couple of Pokemon that I want to put in F tier. Chatot is potentially one of them, right? Like, I feel like you could probably argue these two the worst, because I do think that these 5 have more utility than Cherrim and Chatot, but I have seen more people use Chatot in like national decks and stuff, so you could make a debate. There's definitely a couple that you could argue to be the worst Pokemon. Garchomp, S tier, easily one of the most viable Pokemon on this list. A great Pseudo, one of the more underrated Pseudos I feel like when it comes to competitive viability. You can go offensive with Scale Shot, Swords Dance, you go Stealth Rock Hazards with Dragon Tail. He's got a lot of options, and with the 2 new Megas obviously, there's even more. especially when Champion comes out. You've got 2 potential Megas for Garchomp to be afraid of, so he's going to be good, and he is good. Lucario, another S tier mon. Mega Lucario is great with adaptability. Again, multiple options, mixed special, physical, E-speed. You've got Selp, and still finds a pretty solid typing, so I think Lucario fits the S tier fine. Drapion is also solid. Poison Dark is great. He is in a similar vein to Skuntank. He does have the more offense. Speed, he's surprisingly slow than you would think. Also not got much bulk, and for that reason I'm not going to put him any higher than B, because I do think he lacks in some areas. Even though he's such a cool Pokemon, Drapion, I think he could be better. Carnivine is also probably one of the worst. I'll be honest, again, he's in a similar vein to Chatot in my opinion. Grass type with Levitate, fine. No real offensive output whatsoever. I think I'm going to put Cherrim in 5th. I really don't know. It's like, it's between these 4 for me. Those 3 definitely aren't in F tier conversation, so. Mimion's up next. Solid support mon. He's a great support mon, actually. Whirlpool to be annoying in singles. Icy Wind. Encore. Scald. So, I just wish he had like a secondary typing. Maybe give him the fairy typing. Weavile. S tier. My boy Nightwing is pure offensive pressure. Knockoff is scary. Banded Triple Axle, Ice Shard, U-Turn, can't ask for much more. Ice Dark's not a good typing, however, he is still a good Pokemon. So he stays in that S tier for me. We've then got a Abomasnow. I think he's in a similar vein to Hippowdon. Solid, not the best Hail setter in the world, but all in all, I can't say that they're any lower than B. Magnezone's A. Steel Electric is a relatively good typing. Obviously there's a quad weakness, so weak to fighting and fire. However, you have the immunity to poison, you have a lot of resistances, you have good coverage, so you can hit multiple things quite well, and Magnezone itself is a solid mon. If he had better abilities, he would be higher up, but all in all, I think Magnezone deserves that A spot. Rhyperior, fortunately, my 3rd favourite mon all time. However, he is kind of mid, very niche. I would love to put him higher. Because in Trick Room teams, he can work. But the 2 quad weaknesses, they're having to rely on Trick Room. I know Terror exists now, so you can kind of avoid the quad weakness. So you can maybe make a case for B. You know what? I've convinced myself. There's a little bit of bias. He is probably on the lower end of B. But Rhyperior's made himself up there. And because when you pull off a weakness policy rock polish set and sweep a team with Rhyperior, it's the most dopamine boosting thing ever. Electrified Magmortar, both solid in their own right. You can make an argument that the unevolved ones with the Violites are slightly better. I won't necessarily disagree with you. These guys just need their abilities revamping and the typings revamping, because the coverage of moves is good, but they do just lack from a pure typing point of view, and Magmortar especially, no good abilities. Then we got Togekiss. Togekiss is an easy A tier mon. Great support options. I mean, Sword and Shield, Togekiss was used a lot for the right reasons, and to this day it's still really good. Singles is also just as viable, has incredible coverage, says setup, it has recovery, can't really complain. Fairy Flying is also a pretty solid typing. Mega's good. Mega has potential to sweep games with Throat Spray, Bug Buzz, plus Speed Boost with Terror. I would be interested to see how he performs in Champions, because he's more of a singles mon. But all in all, he can be using doubles, but he is more of a singles mon. Bug Flying's still an awful typing, so for that reason I think it goes in B tier. Leafeon and Glaceon in my opinion are very mid. If they had better abilities, they'd be decent. The problem is, Leafeon has not the best coverage in the world, but he has such a bad ability with Leaf Guard. And the same goes for Glaceon. Glaceon has Snow Cloak. Gliscor, S tier. I feel like that wasn't a surprise to everyone. I understand, and I completely agree, it's a bastard of a Pokemon to play against because Poison Heal is just such a broken ability, especially in singles. And on top of that, in fact, he gets like Swords Dance Facade sets with Poison Heal. Crazy. Next up, Mamoswine. I think Mamoswine's A tier easily. Very viable mon. Thick Fat is decent. He has potential to be very offensive, has priority. Ground Ice is in a relatively okay typing. It's still not amazing. You do have that immunity though. And for that reason, I think Mamoswine is a very easy A tier mon. Porygon, also A tier. This thing can nuke things. Very powerful. Normal, pure normal typing with Tri-Attack is very annoying to play against. Coverage for days. Setup potential with agility. Nasty plot. Next over Gallade. I actually do think you could say Gallade is an A-tier mon, because Mega Gallade is very good. With the combination of sharpness, and if you have the opportunity to set up and fix the speed, as well as even more offense and defense, it can just win games. Offensively, it's very scary, on par with something like a Lopunny. So for that reason, I would say it's A tier. Dustomar's B tier, with the potential to be A tier. Doesn't have as much viability in doubles as Dusclops does, but Dustonar does exceed in singles compared to Dusclops. Sub-Focus Punch is a surprisingly annoying thing to play against with Pain Split as well. Then we have the Rotoms. Now the regular Rotom is kind of a bit too niche, isn't particularly good. It's not the worst, I'll be honest. This Rotom definitely is the worst. You could actually make a case for the F, because an electric flying type with Levitate is one of the most stupid things I've ever seen. Air Slash is fine for its stab, but let's be realistic, it should have been something different. The fact that you have all these strong moves like Leaf Storm, Hydro Pump, Overheat, Blizzard, and then I have Air Slash, don't really make sense. Rotom Heat is still decent, but let's be realistic. Rotom Wash is easily S tier. It's very, very, very good. Rotom Fridge is also kind of... no. Rotom Fridge is also B tier in my opinion. As well as... where is he? Rotom Mo. I mean, Rotom Mo, you could probably make a case for A. Then we have the Genies. I'll get this out of the way. Genies are all B tier. Uxie has good defense. Mesprit has good special attack, I believe. And Axel. And then Azelf has the good speed, I believe. Might be getting these two mixed up. Overall, they're solid. I'd actually probably say Uxie offers the most utility out of the three, but I don't think they're A tier. Now we're moving on to the legendaries of this. Obviously, Dialga's S tier. Obviously, Palkia is S tier. I can't speak tonight for some reason. These two are incredible box arts. They lack from an ability point of view, but stats, type-ins, coverage, utility, they make up for that. So for that reason, they're still in S tier. Heatran. Heatran's a demon, I'll be honest. Also S tier. Those of you that play OU and Natural Dex and the ZA pet mod will understand how annoying Scarfed or Air Balloon, Magma Storm, Eruption, Stealth Rock, Earth Power, even Flame Body playing against that on U-turners. So annoying to play against. He's so good. Fire Steel is a somewhat okay typing. It's annoying to play against, and the trapping with Magma Storm, such good offensive pressure. I think it's S tier. You could make a case for A, but I'm going to put it in S. Regigigas, I'm going to put it in C. I'm pretty sure I put Slacking in C for Gen 3, and Regigigas essentially performs the same role. Arguably a much worse ability with Slow Start than Truant. Giratina's also S tier. Obviously, this thing's using Ubers a lot. Incredible bulk, great typing, really good utility moves, and offensively it can be threatening. Not as threatening as these two, I would say, but I still think it can be threatening. Cresselia. Cresselia is like on the cusp of being S, but offensively it does lack. I know it's incredibly bulky, and in the right situation, with Carmine, Sword Power, it can sweep through teams, but you have moves like Whirlwind, Dragon Tail, you can phase the Pokemon out, and if you get your turns right, you don't let this thing come in super easy, there's not as much pressure from that. So I think A tier is fine. Manaphy, however, I think is A tier as well. Telgo is obviously great, you can build it bulky, has incredible coverage, can be solid in support, can be solid in doubles. Only thing that lets it down is its ability. Hydration, meh. But all in all, it's still a very solid mythical Pokemon. Darkrai, I think, has to go in S tier. In its prime, this would easily be top 5. No contest with how Dark Void worked back in the day in doubles. Still pretty solid now. Can't put both Pokemon sleep. But is still an offensive nightmare to play against. And there's a new Mega. So, I think Darkrai is fine in S tier. The Shaymins. I would say both Shaymins as B tier. They're both good. In my opinion, the Grass Flying one is a little bit worse. Solid bulk overall, relatively okay coverage, and Serene Grace is obviously good. But I would definitely say there's better options, and can't say I've ever been cooked by a Shaymin And then finally, obviously, Arceus that got a Pokemon is obviously going to go in S tier. I mean, it's a silly thing to even try and debate. That being said, again, another relatively quick one. Obviously, there's more Pokemon here. There's obviously some Mega Forms. I'd rather just include the regular forms. And I'm pretty happy with the tiers. Obviously, I think the tier with the least F tier Pokemon so far, which is pretty interesting. That being said, then we move on to the top 5. This is going to be incredibly difficult. There's so many good legendaries, it's going to be hard to rank anything other than them in the top 5. But that being said, let's go. I wanted to give an honorable mention to Palkia. I think he was the closest one outside of the top 5 to going in the top 5. I was close to put him in. It's super hard not putting these guys in because of how good they are. Stats and typings and coverage and moves. They just have bad abilities, right? However, Dialga does go in 5th. Again, pressure's a bad ability inherently. Only ever works on stall teams. Incredible typing, and that's why he's over Palkia. Steel Dragons is significantly better than Water Dragon. Freeze Dry obviously is terrifying for someone like Palkia. Still have the same coverage, you still have the same utility. So I believe he's fine in 5th. I think you could make a case for him to be slightly higher up. That being said, 4th, I'm going to give to Garchomp. Now, in my own head, I originally had Palkia, Dialga, and then Garchomp 6th. But thinking about it more, I do think that Garchomp has slightly more utility than someone like Dialga because of his ability. So, obviously we don't know what Mega Z Garchomp's going to have. Probably something like Speed Boost, which is going to be great. Or even Levitate, which would be arguably better. But Garchomp with Rough Skin and the ability to set up hazards, right? Whereas Dialga doesn't have that Rough Skin. With the combination of something like Rocky Helmet, it can be so much more annoying to play against than something like Dialga. I understand that offensively and stat-wise, you could argue that Dialga's probably better. But I would also take into consideration the fact that you can go something like Scale Shot with Garchomp, increase that speed, take out an opponent, and then get the offensive boost. Or something like Swords Dance, and you're in a good situation. I do think you can make a debate between Garchomp and Dialga switching from 4th to 5th, but this is my list, it's my opinion, I don't care. Then 3rd is Giratina. Obviously Giratina's busted, right? Incredible typing, Ghost Dragon, but it's so good in singles with Will-O-Wisp pressure, with Defog, get rid of hazards, right? Offensively it does lack a little bit in comparison to the other legends. That's what it feels like anyway when playing with Giratina or against Giratina. But it's so bulky that it's hard to play against, it just doesn't die. And for that reason I think he goes in 3rd. Again, 3rd and 2nd I think you could swap. And speaking of 2nd, and speaking of bulk, we have our boy Gliscor. Unkillable. A lot of situations. Ground Flying is a very underrated and incredible typing. So many resistances. If it is a Toxic, Protect, Stall set, it's so hard to kill. On offensively, it has that potential with Terra Normal Facade, with Swords Dance. You get good stab, you get knock off to be annoying, you turn to pivot. Gliscor has so much utility in singles, and even in doubles, it can still work well, right? With Earthquake strategies, with it being a flying type, discharge strategies, it just is good. And I don't think people would necessarily disagree with it being in the 2nd slot. And then in 1st, you could have probably guessed it by now, is Arceus. He's the god of Pokemon for a reason. Almost every move, right, like Mewtwo. So many options. 120 every stat is just incredible. Set up, you can get recovery, you get priority. Stab E-speed on a mon like this is ridiculous. I can't put anything other than Arceus in 1st, and I don't think people would disagree. With that being said, that is my list. That is my top 5. Please do comment your opinions down below. I would love to get your opinions on this one. This was a harder generation to rank. There's a lot of these mons could go higher up, could go lower down. I would love to see where you would put them. That being said, don't forget to also comment what you would like to see in the future tier list wise. Don't forget to like the video, subscribe, and follow my Instagram, @ReachLowBro. And with that being said, I'll see you in the next one.